After trudging through the abysmal mess that was Left Alive, I received more than a few suggestions to check out a game called Forever Winter. Credit where it's due, longtime subscriber and Discord member Gundam2018B actually mentioned it to me a bit earlier than the rest. So shout out to them and to all of you who introduced me to this game. Because despite its numerous issues and early access status, I've come to really enjoy Forever Winter. It's an offbeat mix of stealth, survival horror, and extraction shooter, or, well, maybe it's better described as a scavenger sim. Honestly, it's tough to pinpoint its exact genre, but that's part of what makes it so intriguing. Forever Winter is the first project by Funog Studios, a team reportedly made up of 30 veteran developers. According to their website, these developers banded together under the mission to push users to the edge of their comfort zone and reward them for taking calculated risks to overcome dynamic and horrifying circumstances. I don't know exactly where these devs came from or what their collective experience looks like, but based on my time with Forever Winter, I'd say that they're staying true to their mission. In fact, the game itself feels like one big calculated risk. It's not often you come across something that doesn't just challenge you as a player, but also challenges what you expect from gaming as a medium.
Keep your eyes on their movements. We can pass by every time it rains.
Drawing a few notes from Software's design philosophy, Forever Winter throws you into a world where the war has already happened. The lines between right and wrong have long since blurred, and chaos is all that remains. This is not a conflict that's unfolding before your eyes, it's a smoldering, apocalyptic aftermath. The ruins around you barely resemble the world that once was. The factions, Europa, Eurasia, and Euruska, have been locked in conflict for who knows how long, each representing some dystopian union of Earth's continents in a far-flung future. The humanity of those fighting under their banners has all been but consumed by the endless cycle of war, with technological advancement funneled entirely into the eradication of human life. As a result, the war machines dominating the globe range from towering mechs to grotesque, inhuman technological monstrosities. But here's the catch. You're not a soldier. You're not some chosen hero deciphering the mysteries of the conflict or fighting for a grand cause. You're not even in a position to understand the why or how of it all. You're just surviving. A scavenger. A nobody clawing your way through a world gutted by war, searching for water, food, and supplies. Anything that'll get you through another day. That's your role in Forever Winter. The game lets the world do the heavy lifting when it comes to storytelling. On the surface, it might seem deceptively simple, but the more you play, the more the scale of this extinction-level war reveals itself. The smoldering ruins and desolation aren't just window dressing, they're a testament to a planet pushed past its breaking point. The apocalyptic nature of the setting becomes clearer the longer you survive. It's a world teetering on the brink of complete collapse, and as you uncover more, it's evident that humanity has all but reached its final moments as a species. Even the artificial intelligences you encounter, whether roaming battlefields or populating the game's hub area, seem broken, frayed by years of conflict. It's as if they've been pushed beyond the limits of their programming, possibly even before the war began. They're as lost and exhausted as everything else in this world. For now, that's all there is to it. Being in early access, only time can tell if Funog Studios will include further story elements, or keep us all wallowing in existential dread. At first, I couldn't wrap my head around the comparisons people were making between Forever Winter and Square Enix's bloated disaster Left Alive. My experience with Left Alive was nothing but trouble. It marketed itself as a stealth game but lacked fundamental mechanics. No prone, no stealth takedowns, and AI that barely even functioned. Add to that the scavenging system, which felt like a tacked-on afterthought, and the result was a mess of conflicting ideas that never came together. With how much I was enjoying Forever Winter, the idea that the two games were similar didn't make sense to me. And no, I'm not just talking about the color schemes of their UIs. On paper though, I started to see where people were coming from. Both games feature a limited moveset. In Forever Winter, for instance, stealth involves ducking, hiding, and trying your best to stay out of combat. Both also revolve around scavenging in a hostile, war-torn environment, but that's where the similarities end. The crucial difference is that Forever Winter builds its entire design around these mechanics. It's not some broken last-minute system cobbled together after engine changes and a handoff to mobile-focused studios that didn't understand console development. More importantly, Forever Winter's systems, stealth, scavenging, and combat are cohesive and work seamlessly together, with AI that is leaps and bounds better than what Left Alive could manage. Now, yes, describing this game does make it sound incredibly simple. Early on, your main goal is, or at least should be, to grab loot boxes and stock up on water so that you can gather weapons, sell items for cash, and upgrade your rigs. The gameplay loop revolves entirely around scavenging, and dying means losing everything you're carrying. While you can recover weapons and attachments, everything else is gone. So exercising patience is absolutely key. Combat rarely works in your favor. You're weak no matter what gear you have, and the odds are almost always stacked against you. Whether it's being outgunned, outnumbered, or simply caught off guard, you'll learn quickly that luck doesn't last. It doesn't matter which character you're using, or how many experience points you poured into temporary skill boosts or prestige levels to increase your health and carrying capacity. When you come across some hulking war machine, it'll mow you down without hesitation simply because you're something unfamiliar to its faction. This brutal dynamic is what makes Forever Winter so gripping. It's about taking enormous risks for small rewards, navigating an utterly chaotic world in hope of finding something, anything, useful to survive or complete a mission. However, new players should absolutely expect to die quite a bit. In turn, this also means they'll be going on a lot of runs where they don't net anything but some experience points. That or lose an effective weapon simply because of a chance encounter with a squad of soldiers or manic cyborgs. Basically, this game is absolutely unforgiving in its difficulty, sometimes even making the infamous Soul series look like a pushover in comparison. One of the more divisive aspects of this game is its water system, which ties directly into the theme of risk. You need to keep a stockpile of water to keep your save file active. If you run out, your progress resets. The controversy lies in the fact that this mechanic operates in real time. For some players, it adds an unwelcome layer of stress. Personally, after spending significant time with the game, I found it wasn't as bad as people made it out to be. Water is relatively easy to find. You can stockpile enough for days at a time, and completing even a few missions can net you a week's worth. Even if your save resets, you retain your prestige levels and experience, so the biggest loss is your inventory. But in a game so heavily centered on scavenging, does that really matter? You can lose everything just as easily by dying on the battlefield too many times. The real brilliance of Forever Winter lies in its dynamic ecosystem. If you've played later Far Cry games where wild animals attack enemies or different factions clash randomly, imagine that, but turned up to 11. Every time you enter a region, the challenges shift. One visit might be relatively calm, with only a few proxy battles breaking out in the distance, giving you the opportunity to scavenge the aftermath before the victors move on. But re-entering the same area guarantees nothing will be the same. Enemy placements are randomized, factions are constantly at war, and environmental conditions like dusk, nighttime, or the eerie aftermath of a battle where Eurasian cyborgs have wiped out all biological life add an extra layer of unpredictability. This chaotic world makes every trek into the unknown both mesmerizing and absolutely terrifying. You never know what you'll encounter, and that unpredictability is what keeps the experience so gripping. One moment you're scavenging in relative peace, and the next you're caught up in the crossfire of a massive battle, or stumbling into an area you're not remotely prepared for. It's a relentless, harrowing experience that sticks with you long after you've shut the game down. You can experience all of this with up to 4 players, though the developers have made it clear that Forever Winter is designed primarily for solo play. For introverts like me, there's some solace in the ability to hire AI companions. These companions excel at specific tasks, making them valuable allies. Personally, I can't imagine competing for resources against 3 other players, especially given how rare some items are to begin with. That said, Forever Winter is not without its issues. It's still in early access after all. This means many of the game's larger systems are present but feel underdeveloped. For instance, there's a faction system in place, but its effects are currently limited to minor aspects like store inventories. Hopefully this will eventually extend into the active gameplay world, as it could add a dynamic new layer to the experience, such as certain enemy factions just letting you off if they see you. There are also smaller features, like items you can buy to boost morale within the hub. However, as of now, there doesn't appear to be an actual morale system tied to these purchases. Bugs and glitches are also inevitably part of the experience. For example, quest rewards don't always work as intended. Early on, I completed a mission where I was supposed to receive a new rig, but just didn't. This left me struggling with inadequate gear until I managed to scrape together enough water and cash to buy something better. The AI, while capable in combat, has its quirks. Pathfinding issues are really common, with just about everything struggling to navigate obstacles or even each other. As frustrating as this could be, it oddly contributes to the chaotic, unpredictable nature of the world. The game's traversal system, while useful, can also be a double-edged sword. You're able to climb over obstacles and explore vertical areas, but this sometimes backfires. On occasion, I found myself bouncing off ledges that should have been climbable or accidentally entering areas I wasn't meant to access. In several instances, I fell through the ground but somehow managed to climb back out of the void. On top of that, there were moments where my inventory froze or I hit an invisible wall that temporarily immobilized me, only for it not to be there 10 seconds later. These glitches can be especially frustrating when they result in losing valuable loot. After all, in a game centered around risk and survival, losing progress to a bug feels like an unnecessary gut punch. I'm still optimistic that these issues will be ironed out as development progresses. The core gameplay has a solid foundation, and with some refinement, Forever Winter has the potential to evolve into something truly standout. For now, its chaotic, unpredictable world, bugs and all, presents a uniquely tough experience that keeps you hooked. And hey, if you're enjoying this video so far, consider leaving a like, dropping a comment, and subscribing. It helps the channel grow and you'll be getting fresh weekly content focused on pretty much everything with mechs in it. Was that probably a bad place to drop this? Probably. Now, visually, Forever Winter can be as rough as it is beautiful. Without a doubt, the game's environments are meticulously designed and oozed with hideous character. As much as the story is left to the imagination, without much explanation aside from small character mentions and loading screens, the places you traverse are as well. You really have no idea what happened in these places, or even what they once were, nor where they might actually be in the world either. At any given time, you'll see remnants of mechs, broken down artillery, dilapidated fortresses riddled with the bodies of fallen soldiers and cyborgs. This sort of thing is to be expected, but other times you'll come across horrifying visages of what seems to be otherworldly machine gods, surrounded by candles lit by those unseen. That, or the literal head of a massive titan. Its terrifying mystery and implications simply ignored due to the ongoing war. All of Forever Winter is like this, and it's clear that the developers wanted to hammer home the fact that all is truly lost in the throes of war. Right now, there are 8 maps available, with 2 of them being works in progress that are still mostly playable. 3 more are on the horizon as well, at least at the time of writing this review, but I have to say, what is already available is certainly vast and well worth the price of entry, in my own opinion. Enemy designs of Forever Winter range from basic soldiers and cyborgs to tanks and helicopters, which make their expected appearances. But it doesn't stop there. Medium and colossal mechs stomp across the game's many areas, stealing the spotlight. Some of these designs reminded me of the Wanzers from Front Mission 3, chunky, industrial, and dripping with mechanical menace. The same industrial aesthetic carries over beautifully here, and I love it just as much as I did in Front Mission. While these mechs and soldiers are the most common enemies you'll face, the game doesn't shy away from variety. There are cylindrical and insectile drones, as well as region-specific and event-exclusive monstrosities. These are where Forever Winter dips its toes into horror. Imagine giant robots wearing devil masks, death machines stalking you through underground corridors, and biomechanical nightmares like the Mother Courage lumbering around in the fog. These designs are eerie, grotesque, and deeply unsettling. The player characters too are built to emphasize this grim aesthetic. They are featureless, worn-out masses of flesh or machinery, trudging across the map in search of water and supplies while desperately avoiding danger. There's no glory in their appearances, just survival. One of the characters I tried, Shaman, was easily my favorite. He carries a rare glimmer of hope, seeing meaning in his survival even in these dire circumstances. I also spent a lot of time with Scav Girl and Bagman, one built for speed and the other for durability. While there are plenty of suggestions online about which character to start with, it's best to experiment with all of them, and settle on the avatar and skill set that feels right for your playstyle. When it comes to the sound design in Forever Winter, well, the game doesn't exactly excel in that area, mostly. The character voice quips are fine, but their tone can be a bit mismatched.
Same as it ever was.
For a game where combat is last resort, it's odd that some of the characters sound so eager to fight.
I've been waiting for this.
That said, Forever Winter truly shines when the music fades, leaving you with just the raw sounds of the battlefield. The echo of distant gunfire, the thud of approaching mechs, and the unnerving sound of enemies moving on either side of you all create an atmosphere that is downright terrifying. There's something deeply morbid yet captivating about everything going on here, and despite its flaws, I couldn't help but love the experience in a chaotic, masochistic way. Even in its early access state, Forever Winter shows a lot of promise. The foundations are solid, and I truly believe that once the game's quests, systems, pathfinding, and maps are fully fleshed out, it will take a serious leap in quality. This is already a game that feels like it's on the right track, and I'd hate to see it fall to the wayside. We've seen so many great projects over the years lose their momentum, sometimes by focusing too much on multiplayer features at the expense of a well-rounded single-player experience. That said, the game's biggest challenges right now are the sort that can only be addressed as development progresses. The most pressing issue is a lack of item variety. In a game centered around survival and scavenging, the tools you have at your disposal are critical, not just for survival, but also for keeping the gameplay fresh. Alongside this, the game would probably greatly benefit from more indirect ways to deal with enemies. Adding features like traps or distractions would bring a lot of strategic depth without overcomplicating things. For a game like this, where tension and resourcefulness play such a huge role, those small additions could go a long way in elevating the experience. And I'll admit, I'm not usually the biggest fan of crafting systems. They can feel tacked on or unnecessary in many games, but in this case, I'd argue that crafting would make perfect sense. Forever Winter is all about scavenging, so incorporating a system where players could use what they find to create tools, weapons, or survival items seems like a natural fit. It wouldn't need to be overly complex, just something that ties into the scavenging loop. History hasn't always been too kind to innovative concepts, but Forever Winter is something I'd love to see stick around for years to come. The beauty of a title like this is that more content and polish will only come with time, and as rough as it may be in early access, this is the worst it's ever going to be. From here, it can hopefully only improve. So that's it for now. I've been Kei-Nova. I hope you're all staying healthy, safe, and finding moments of peace in these challenging times. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.